The terminal at Los Angeles International Airport was a world unto itself, bustling with people from all walks of life. The steady hum of conversation, the mechanical announcements blaring over the intercom, and the clinking of luggage wheels on the tiled floors created an orchestra of urban chaos. Justin Bieber sat in a corner, attempting to stay unnoticed amidst the throng of travelers. He had chosen this spot deliberately, away from the main crowd, hoping to enjoy a rare moment of solitude before boarding his delayed flight to Atlanta. Dressed casually in a black hoodie, ripped jeans and sneakers, with a cap pulled low over his face, Justin looked like any other traveler. Yet his unmistakable aura occasionally drew a curious glance. The young pop icon was used to being the center of attention, but today he craved peace. He scrolled through his phone absent-mindedly, checking updates about the charity concert he was flying out to headline. The event was close to his heart, aimed at raising awareness and funds for underprivileged children. It wasn't just about the music, it was about making a difference, and Justin was committed to the cause. As he glanced around the terminal, his eyes landed on an elderly black woman sitting by the large glass windows that overlooked the runway. Her presence was understated, yet compelling. She wore a neatly pressed coat, slightly faded from years of use, and a modest hat adorned with a single feather. Her hands, wrinkled yet steady, worked methodically as she knitted a bright yellow scarf. The color stood out vividly against the gray and beige tones of the airport, like a beacon of quiet resilience amidst the chaos. Justin found himself drawn to her, intrigued by the calm dignity she exuded. She seemed untouched by the rush around her, a serene island in a sea of noise. He watched as she occasionally looked up from her knitting, her gaze distant as if lost in memories. There was something comforting about her presence, a reminder of simpler times in a world that often felt overwhelming. But the tranquility of the moment was shattered by the harsh voices of a group nearby. "Why is she just sitting there?" one of them sneered, loud enough for half the terminal to hear. "Taking up space like she owns the place." The words hit like a slap, breaking the spell of calm. Justin's eyes snapped toward the source of the voice, a trio of well-dressed travelers standing a few feet away. They appeared to be business professionals, their polished appearances at odds with their ugly behavior. A man in a tailored suit smirked as he adjusted his tie, while two women beside him exchanged mocking glances. "Bet she doesn't even have a ticket," one of the women said with a laugh. Her manicured hand gestured dismissively in the elderly woman's direction. "Probably just here to loiter." The man chuckled, his voice dripping with condescension. "Maybe she's waiting for a bus, not a flight." The elderly woman, whose knitting had momentarily faltered, kept her head down. Her posture was tense, her hands gripping the yarn a little too tightly. Justin could see the subtle tremor in her fingers, the only sign that their cruel words had reached her. She said nothing, her silence speaking volumes. A knot of anger tightened in Justin's chest. He had seen his fair share of unfairness in the world, but this blatant display of prejudice struck a nerve. The elderly woman had done nothing to warrant such treatment. She was simply existing, and yet she was being targeted because of her appearance. Justin stood up, his heart pounding with a mix of anger and determination. He knew stepping into the situation would draw attention, possibly even unwanted headlines, but he couldn't sit by and do nothing. Adjusting his hoodie, he made his way toward the trio, his steps purposeful. "Hey," he said, his voice cutting through the din of the terminal. "That's enough." The group turned to face him, their expressions shifting from smug amusement to mild confusion. The man was the first to recover, his lips curling into a sneer. "And who are you supposed to be?" he asked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Justin ignored the question, his gaze steady. "You need to stop talking to her like that. It's disrespectful." One of the women crossed her arms, her eyebrows arching in mock surprise. "Oh, really? And who made you the manners police?" "I don't need a badge to know what's right," Justin replied, his voice calm but firm. He turned to the elderly woman, softening his tone. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She looked up at him, her dark eyes filled with a quiet strength that belied the weariness in her expression. "I'm fine, young man," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in her posture. "I've dealt with worse." Justin's jaw tightened. She shouldn't have to deal with this. Not here. Not anywhere. You shouldn't have to, he said gently. The man in the suit stepped forward, his posture aggressive. Look, buddy, we weren't talking to you. Mind your own business. Justin met his gaze without flinching. It became my business when I heard you disrespecting her, he said evenly. What you're doing is wrong. The confrontation had drawn the attention of other travelers. A small crowd began to gather, their murmurs creating a ripple of tension through the terminal. Phones were pulled out, cameras rolling as the scene unfolded. Justin sighed internally, knowing the footage would likely end up online. But that was a problem for later. Isn't that Justin Bieber? Someone whispered from the crowd. The realization spread quickly, and soon people were murmuring his name. The trio's smugness faltered as they realized who they were up against. The man's bravado wavered, but he tried to recover. Oh, so now we're getting a lecture from a pop star? He said with a forced laugh. What's next? An autograph? Ignoring him, Justin turned back to the elderly woman. Ma'am, what's your name? She hesitated for a moment before answering. Ruth, she said simply. Justin smiled. Ruth, would it be okay if I did something to brighten your day? Her brows furrowed in confusion, but she nodded. I suppose so, she said cautiously. Justin reached for his guitar case, which he had been carrying as part of his hand luggage. The crowd watched with bated breath as he pulled out the instrument and began strumming a soft melody. The gentle chords filled the air, silencing the murmurs. Justin closed his eyes for a moment, letting the music flow through him, and then he began to sing. By the end of the story, Ruth shares her life experiences with the crowd, recounting the challenges she faced growing up in a segregated era. Justin's song and his actions not only silence the bullies, but inspire the gathered travelers to reflect on their own biases. Justin addresses the crowd saying, "It's not enough to just stand by when you see something wrong. Kindness and respect aren't just words, they're actions. Every single one of us can make a choice to stand up for what's right." The video concludes with Ruth and Justin sharing a heartfelt moment, emphasizing the power of compassion and the importance of treating everyone with dignity. The crowd disperses with a renewed sense of unity, carrying with them a lesson that resonates far beyond the airport terminal.